Okay, let's travel back in time. Picture this: Athens, about 2,400 years ago. It's this vibrant, bustling city, the center of the world for culture, for theater, for politics, and it's also home to one of the greatest thinkers ever, Plato. Now, Plato came from a pretty well-off family, and he could have done anything with his life. But he dedicated himself to one single massive goal. And honestly, it changed the world. And that goal was all about helping people achieve something the Greeks had a fantastic word for: eudaimonia. It doesn't have a perfect English translation, but it's this idea of deep, lasting fulfillment, of truly flourishing. And this one concept, eudaimonia, is the master key to unlocking all of Plato's biggest, most powerful ideas for living a good life. So, where do we even begin this journey toward fulfillment? Well, for Plato, the very first step, his number one idea, is a challenge to every single one of us. You have got to start thinking for yourself. Plato saw this huge clash happening in our minds. On one side, you've got what he called doxa. Think of it as popular opinion, all the common sense ideas that we just soak up from our friends, our family, and society, usually without a second thought. And on the other side, you have philosophy, which for Plato simply meant taking the time to really examine your own beliefs, to see if they actually make sense. Do any of these sound a little familiar? Fame is great. Just follow your heart. Money will solve your problems. This is modern doxa. And Plato warned that this stuff can be full of mistakes and bad advice, pushing us toward the wrong jobs, the wrong relationships, basically the wrong life. He saw these unexamined ideas as a real threat to our happiness. And to show just how risky this is, Plato came up with this incredible metaphor. He said that living by your unexamined feelings and just going with the flow, it's like you're being dragged behind a chariot pulled by wild horses. You're not in control, are you? Your impulses are. It's a pretty intense picture of a life lived without any real self-awareness. So, how do we grab the reins? What's the solution? For Plato, it all came down to one thing: know yourself. He pushed this method he learned from his own teacher, Socrates, called the Socratic discussion. And here's the kicker: the point isn't to win an argument with someone else. The point is to challenge your own assumptions, to really get to the bottom of what you believe and why. That's where true self-knowledge begins. All right, so once we start looking inward, Plato's second big idea turns to our relationships with other people. And this one, well, it might really surprise you because it completely reframes what love is all about. I mean, it's one of the biggest questions we ask, right? Our modern doxa usually tells us that love is about finding someone who accepts you just the way you are, flaws and all. But Plato, he had a totally different and maybe a much more interesting take on it. In his famous dialogue, The Symposium, Plato says it plain and simple: true love is admiration. Think about that for a second. It's not just about liking someone. It's about genuinely admiring the good qualities in them, especially the qualities you wish you had more of yourself. So here's how this works in the real world. You find someone who has virtues you admire, maybe they're incredibly brave or funny or organized, and by being close to them, you start to absorb some of that. For Plato, a relationship is really a team project where two people are basically teachers for each other, helping one another grow into the best possible versions of themselves. Okay, so from love, Plato moves on to another huge force in our lives: beauty. He was one of the first people to really dig into a simple question: why do we like beautiful things so much? What's the point? And his answer is pretty profound. Plato believed that beauty isn't just, nice to look at. He thought that when we find something beautiful, a piece of art, a stunning landscape, whatever, it's actually whispering important truths to us about what the good life is really like. And what exactly is it whispering? Well, it's reminding us of all these qualities we need in our own lives, but often forget. Things like gentleness, a sense of harmony, balance, peace, strength. Beauty, for Plato, is like a constant, gentle nudge, reminding us of the virtues we should be working on inside ourselves. So what this means is that art has a really important job to do. Plato saw art as a kind of therapy. He believed the duty of artists and designers and poets was to make things that actively help us become better people, to become wiser and kinder and calmer. And this brings us to Plato's fourth idea, and this is by far his most ambitious. He wasn't content with just helping individuals. He wanted to use these same principles to fix all of society. Plato took a hard look at the celebrities of his time, the rich socialites and the famous athletes, and he was not impressed. He argued that who we look up to matters a lot, because the wrong heroes can make bad character traits seem cool. His solution? Let's get some new role models. He called them guardians, people who were wise, humble, and actually dedicated to serving the public. Now, here comes his most controversial idea, so buckle up. Plato wanted to end democracy. And look, it's not because he was some power-hungry tyrant. It's because he looked around and saw people voting based on emotion and popular opinion, not reason. And he figured maybe we should only let people vote after they've learned to think things through properly. And this wasn't just some theory he wrote down. He put his money where his mouth was. He started a school in Athens called the Academy. And get this, it lasted for 300 years. Its main goal wasn't just to teach math and science. Its core mission was to produce good, kind leaders who would know how to run a society well. So, when you put all these ideas together, thinking for yourself, loving better, creating a just society, what's the final challenge that Plato leaves us with? It's this powerful mix of philosophy and real-world politics. It really all comes down to maybe his most famous quote from his masterpiece, The Republic. He says, "The world will only be fixed when the people with power become wise, or when wise people get power." That's the heart of his vision. We need our leaders to have not just authority, but wisdom. And that brings us right back to our world today. Thinking about his ideas, questioning popular opinion, seeing love as a way to grow, finding moral lessons in beauty, demanding more wisdom from our leaders, they're as challenging now as they were 2,400 years ago. So the real question he leaves for us is, which one of these ideas do we need to hear the most right now?